Hey friends, this is Jarrod Haning with Mindset Performance. If you feel like you've been juggling work and family and feel like at the end of all that juggling, you're just losing out. You don't have the time to spend with your family that you want, to be present while your kids are growing up. You don't have the time for work, for the projects that matter. And in the middle, you've been trying to ask for help. You've been trying to communicate about it. You've been offering your ideas and suggestions, and it just feels like you're not being seen. You're not being valued for your intelligence and your ideas and what you have to offer. You're not being heard for your requests and what you need and where you need help. And that sucks. It's just miserable, frustrating. I want to share with you the second of the tools that work for being seen and valued and heard. You don't need to change what you're asking for. And many times you're probably not asking for something big enough. You don't need to change how you're asking for it. It's not a matter of changing your demeanor or changing your the tone of voice or anything like that. All we need to do is present the information in a different order. Now, this particular pattern, AIR, is probably one of the most powerful tools I could share with you. What it does is it allows you to say no, but it happens in such a way that the other person says thank you. Because in that process, they feel valued and heard. Now, how cool is that? One of the reasons that we go through life and we have a feeling where we have a loss of freedom or a loss of power or a loss of self-expression, one of the reasons that happens to us is because we stop saying no. We stop telling the whole truth. We start to sugarcoat it. We stop asking for what we really want. We stop renegotiating if something isn't working for us anymore. And it leaves us with a loss of freedom or loss of power or a loss of self-expression, which sucks, right? So how cool would it be if you had the power, the tool to say no and know that by saying no this way, everything works out. Nobody's upset, nobody gets bent out of shape. They actually welcome you telling them the whole truth and saying no. There's a thank you kind of at the end of it, and there's that sense of teamwork, and we're still together and we're going to work together on other projects. This is amazingly freeing. Okay, this pattern, the A stands for acknowledge. Until they hear what's in their head, they can't hear what's in your head. By saying what's going on in their head first, it removes that power from the conversation. It takes it off the table. It clears the slate so their ears can hear what you're about to say. I did a whole TEDx talk on this. TEDx Hickory, North Carolina, I believe it is. Amazing what happens when the unspoken in their mind is revealed. It doesn't cause them to feel exposed. It actually causes them to feel taken care of. And so that unspoken message that's on their heart or mind stops manipulating the conversation. Amazing. I would encourage you to watch that. TEDx, Jarrod Haning, Hickory, North Carolina. The whole message on that. Amazing. Anyway, so if you need to say no to somebody, there's like, hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do it this way? And you need to say no. Start with an acknowledgement of the situation. Then after that, you provide some new information. The new information isn't a matter of opinion or feeling. It's a practical conflict. Kind of like, I can't go to lunch and attend the meeting at the same time. I can't work on the proposal and take out the trash at the same time. It's a practical dilemma. And then lastly, you make a request. The request doesn't mean that you don't know how to solve the problem or you don't know what the best solution is. It doesn't mean that at all. But what it does is it causes them to solve the problem. And your job as a leader, whether you're leading your family or leading your team at work, is to empower them to solve the problem. Because if you're the one solving the problem, you'll always be the one solving the problem. And there's no freedom in that. Acknowledge the situation, provide some new information, end with a request. So if somebody was coming to you and they said, hey, would you prepare these folders for the 2 o'clock meeting? Start with an acknowledgement of what's going on in their head. You know, I understand that these folders need to be done. I understand the 2 o'clock meeting is important. Provide some new information. Look at your to-do list. Hey, I've got to prepare this and send this. I can't work on both of these at the same time. And then make a request. How else could we handle this? Or maybe, is this something that Sharon could help with? Make a request. Watch what happens if we do this out of order. Maybe somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, would you help with these folders for the 2 o'clock meeting? You can imagine if you were asking me that right now. Hey, Jarrod, would you help me with these folders for the 2 o'clock meeting? Notice how you feel if I say, hey, is this something that Sharon could help with? The reason I mention that is I'm working on this other project. I can't do both at the same time, but I do care about the folders in the 2 o'clock meeting. For most people, when I respond backwards, they're like, what the heck, dude? You blowing me off? I know you say that, but I don't think you really do. I think you're just passing the buck. I say no, and it causes this feeling of you don't care at all. You're just passing the buck. Imagine you go to one of your kids and you're like, hey, would you take out the trash? And they're like, is this something that my sister can do? Because I'm busy playing this video game. I can't do both at the same time, but I do acknowledge the trash needs to be taken. You're like, the heck? Like, it's offensive. It's, oh my gosh. That's because when you respond to a question with a question, it's offensive. In your mind, you're like, obviously, I've already thought about your sister. I'm asking you for a reason. So here's what you do instead. So you imagine you come to me with a request, right? Say, hey, would you help me with these folders? And I say, man, those folders are really important. I care about that meeting at 2 o'clock. So I'm acknowledging your request. Now, that doesn't mean I agree with your request. It doesn't mean that I think your request is a good idea. Doesn't mean that I'm going to help with your request. It just means I acknowledge you just said something. And then I provide some new information. Hey, right now I'm working on these folders in this agreement, and I can't do both at the same time. And then I just simply end with, is there somebody else that we could get to help with this? Or who else do you think could help with this? So I told you no. But in the end, most people find that this order causes them to feel heard and valued. This frees you up to be empowered to say no. Because the more you say no, the greater your sense of power and freedom and self-control is. Now, if you like this way of thinking, this way of solving problems by small distinctions, I would encourage you to check out the Mind Scan. I know it sounds kind of weird, but my work at Mindset Performance is to teach people how to think at a higher level about solving problems. One of the things we do is we take them through the Mind Scan that prints up a graph of their thinking problems, their thinking patterns, how their brain solves problems. As a result of the insights in that graph, most of my clients go on to double their income by working half as many hours, simply because they become aware of any blind spots that could have been tripping them up that they hadn't seen before, or any breakthroughs that they haven't taken advantage of before. If that interests you, I'd encourage you to check out the Mind Scan. There's a link around here somewhere. Just go to Breakthrough or Mind Scan or wherever the link is, go to the homepage and check out the Mind Scan and see if you like the information that it reveals about the way your brain solves problems and the opportunities that there are, whether it's at home or in work. I hope this video has served you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next training.